Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean. I've got Tel with me here again today. How's it going, Tel?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. How's your Sunday been?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Having a few beers. Going to talk about the Tyson Fury fight from last night. The Josh Warrington kid Galahad as well, and all things basically related to that. So let's get started with the Tyson Fury fight. What's your first thoughts on it?
I wasn't really expecting much at all because obviously I knew that Schwarz wasn't really going to present any problems at all for Fury, or at least that's what I was expecting.
Yeah,
So I wasn't expecting too much of the fight, but in a way I was pleasantly surprised because I thought Fury looked pretty good. Obviously, you can't really read too much into it, but at the same time, physically he looked much better than he did against Wilder. I thought he looked more energetic, stronger,
yeah.
and I think it was definitely like a good performance from Fury within the context of that fight.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. I mean, the opponent was, pretty poor. Probably, I don't know where he was ranked in the world realistically, but he wouldn't have been in the top 20. Do you know what I mean? Or 30 probably. Do you know what I mean? But the thing that was encouraging was the way, as you say, he looked physically. It was never going to be a tough fight. There was no question that Fury was going to win, which is the case of how he looked. Did we see like physical improvement from the Wilder fight? Which absolutely we did. Now, obviously, you can say against that level of opponent compared to the one before, then it could give that impression. But it's not just that; it's just the way he looked, the way he moved around, the power on the punches, just the reflexes.
He looked like he was. I don't know if he was heavier than he was against Wilder, but he looked like
A little bit, yeah.
He filled out a little bit. He'd allowed himself
Yeah.
to put on some muscle.
Yeah.
He was standing like really like throwing big shots.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had put on a little bit of weight, not too much, but obviously going into the Wilder fight, he just lost about 150. Not between a Pianetta fight and that fight, but Pianetta and Safari were like just zero threat at all.
They were part of his training program.
Yeah. So he basically, like, when he fought Wilder, he wasn't really used to that weight. Now he's had another 6 months at that weight. You can tell he's physically a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Now, it is obviously, you have to say that, like, with someone like Tom Schwarz, he can plant his feet and stand there and like really dig him in. That had something to do with it. Whereas against someone like Wilder, he wouldn't be trying to take those kind of risks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can clearly, first of all, you know that having like had 6 months at the same weight, you've sort of stabilised and you've had time to work on stuff like that. He clearly was anyway, but that did show in the fight. He definitely did look stronger. And you got an opponent like Schwarz, who's obviously, nowhere near his level. So you want to basically, compare it to forget the Wilder, compare it to the Pianetta fight. But Pianetta is probably worse than Schwarz. But he looked much better against Schwarz than he did against Pianetta. He looked terrible against Pianetta.
That's true.
That's why like, a lot of people thought going into the Wilder fight, he's got no chance. He just looks like an absolute shell of himself.
I think if you consider that the Wilder fight was almost an anomaly, he just took it as I think, a very clever move, thinking I could buy myself a load of time here, because if I can beat Wilder, suddenly I'm the champ. As it turns out, he didn't, but the performance was good enough that he's earned himself this deal now with ESPN.
Yeah.
He's earned himself this time to watch Joshua lose a fight, to watch Wilder position himself. To be fair, the strategy from Tyson Fury, I think, has been pretty impressive.
Yeah, he basically took an opportunity. He saw, obviously, with all this sort of like, whatever it was, all these sort of shenanigans with like Wilder and Joshua, he saw an opportunity to basically get in there and kind of, he didn't really have that much to lose in that fight, because if he did lose, everyone would have just said, well, he was basically a shell of himself. And he went in there, he got most people think he won the fight, got himself.
He won the fight.
Yeah, well, yeah, I certainly think he did. He got himself like a big deal, and now he's getting the rematch on his terms.
Yeah.
Now
he's also got time to actually really train for elite top level boxing matches, which is where he needs to be. He needs to be physically prepared for it. And he bought himself that 12, 18 months extra before he fights Wilder again, potentially fights Joshua. You'd have to say that the way that he's he's handled it, all the people around him, or it seems like it makes a lot of sense. Basically, everything they do.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically like now he's basically fought against Tom Schwarz. He's going to fight. Let's be honest, another no-hoper in his next fight. So he's got like more time to really kind of sharpen his tools and get his reflexes back and like build up his physical strength, and then go into the rematch with Wilder.
Because the reality
and
is,
getting paid silly money to do it.
Yeah.
He got paid more money to fight Tom Schwarz than he did to fight Deontay Wilder and Vladimir Klitschko. Obviously, like his two biggest his two best opponents. He got paid less for both of those two put together than he did for fighting Tom Schwarz, who's probably like, I don't know, not even in his top 10 opponents. You know what I mean?
Well, it's fine. He's getting paid what he worked what he worked towards all that time. But I think Wilder faced a completely different animal, really, in the first fight. Obviously, Fury was still Fury in terms of his boxing ability, but he was 50% physically of what he can be. Maybe now we've seen him at, I don't know, 65%, 70% maybe maximum. But he's still obviously got a massive amount of improvements that he can make physically before he fights Wilder in a year's time from now, or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, also the confidence as well. So I reckon going into that first Wilder fight, he probably, he didn't know what to expect, did he? He didn't know like how he was going to perform. He was like ridiculously out of shape. Hadn't done anything for years like prior to that. Just completely weight drained. And it was just he was really just rolling the dice. So he got in there, took Wilder's best punch, got up. Now he's going into it thinking like, I'm basically settled now at this weight. I've been living clean. I've been training hard. Now I'm really going into it firing on all cylinders.
And then at the same time, obviously, you've got Wilder. I think you can say as well, he's improving all the time and growing, isn't he? To going from fighting nobodies really to the point where he's fighting people like Fury and showing that he is that level fighter.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be a lot better when he goes into the second fight as well, isn't he?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, also because like the one disadvantage for Wilder going into that fight, he'd never really been in a big fight before, and obviously like the Fury fans turn up. There's a lot of pressure on him. It's pay-per-view. I mean, before that, he fought against his first like real sort of solid opponent, Luis Ortiz, knocked him out. So then he went into the Fury fight, and there was all the hype around it, all the pressure, the atmosphere. Obviously, the English fan, the Irish fans turn up, like giving it, and he was maybe a little bit of stage fright. So now he sort of had that experience as well. Until then, he went into now he's kind of used to people being a bit interested in him and expecting stuff from him. So he fought against Brazil. Okay, Brazil's not a world beater, but to deal with him the way he dealt with him was impressive.
Well, he's obviously a much more credible opponent than Schwarz was for Fury last night. Yeah. Obviously, the two fights you could say ended more or less in the same way. Wilder did it in the first round and Fury did it in the second. Yeah. But obviously, Brazil was a live opponent. I don't think anyone really thought that at any point that Schwarz was a live opponent.
No. I think, but literally everyone knew that he was just going to get battered. I think like Dominic Brazil, no one really thought Dominic Brazil was going to win, but I thought potentially he could make it like a little bit rough and tough for Wilder for, however long it lasted. I don't think anyone really expected it to go like that.
The difficult thing for Wilder, I think, is that everyone expects him to...
It's our new sponsor, by the way, Heineken. So thanks.
Slauncher. I think everyone expects now, fight after fight, absolute top level, early knockout, unbelievable performances from Wilder.
Yeah.
The advantage Fury has is that people give him a little bit more leeway in this period. So Wilder really did have the pressure on him to go in and put that kind of performance in. I think Fury had that kind of pressure, but not against someone half as good. So really, you've got to feel slightly sorry for Wilder at the moment because he's still not really. I mean, that was a very, very good win. I don't know how much credit really he's got from it, or if he's got enough credit.
Yeah, I think the problem really with like boxing these days, because you're not as kind of on the sort of boxing social media as I am. You're more of a sort of old school boxing fan, where you basically just sort of give credit to people. You don't really get sort of sucked into these kind of fanboy wars.
No.
Whereas like the way boxing is now, you just got so many people just you know, like sort of us and them discrediting this bloke, and it's quite easy for like sort of Wilder. He's like kind of he's got a lot of fanboys. He's got a lot of haters. So there aren't that many people really who sort of just give an honest analysis of like what he's actually doing.
I suppose I could be accused, let's say, of being a casual, but at the same time, I watch a lot of boxing. I like watching all the boxing. I'm just not a supporter of one guy. I just like all the good boxing.
Yeah, but you're not sort of influenced by a load of dickheads basically talking rubbish. You just basically see what you see, and you're not sort of like kind of these people are saying this and
no. There's plenty of boxers. I think in a minute we're going to talk about Warrington versus Kid Galahad. And personally, I've never really been that much of a fan, say, of Warrington's style of boxing. But I can watch him suddenly put out great performances to win belts and to defend his title and be impressed by the guy. We're going to talk about the fight after. I wasn't as impressed with him in that fight. But
no, well, let's basically the final words, I suppose, on the Fury. I was basically happy with what I saw. I liked the promotion that the ESPN is. Obviously ESPN, very, very big sports company or sports channel in America, the biggest really. He went into the last fight of Wilder as the massive B-side, everything against him. Now that's not going to be the case. He's going to go in there with like a real like big player behind him. So that's good. He came out like sort of dressed as Apollo Creed. I think the American fans are going to like him. I mean, obviously some will, some won't, but he's definitely going to appeal to a lot of them. He's an entertaining character.
I assume unless you're a massive Wilder fanboy or whatever, most people in America are going to like him. He's bringing some extra entertainment to the game, isn't he? So
he's a real quality fighter. I think most people recognise that. I mean, even if you don't like him, everyone knows these.
You could see that the commentators last night. They were in the short period of 2 rounds of the fight that we had. They were all obviously bigging up Tyson's boxing qualities, weren't they, for the entire time?
I've been saying for a while, and I stand by a lot of people who basically sort of mug me off and said, like, I've said Tyson Fury is basically the heavyweight Terence Crawford. And those two to me are very, very similar in a lot of ways. Stylistically, they've both got a real kind of vicious streak about them, got a massive pair of bollocks, and they can basically sort of do everything. So I kind of see those two as being very similar.
Things that Fury, I think he's very good at using his physique and his boxing ability combined in the same thing. Even when he made Schwarz miss those few shots last night in the
when he's doing sort of Muhammad Ali impression, he's that kind of like
It's obviously an amazing head movement, but it's obviously as well at the same time. If you look like the use of his shoulder,
very clever,
physical strength he uses within that movement. Like not many people who physically can do that either.
No. I mean, there aren't many people who are like 6'8" with like ridiculously long arms, who are that quick on their feet, like really heavy, thick set. I mean, it's just he's a bit of a sort of freak, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, all right, should we talk about the Josh Warrington Kid Galahad fight?
It's quite controversial. This fight,
I personally, I watched it, and I wasn't really fully focused on it. I was sort of watching it on and off, talking to people, having a beer. The impression I got from watching it the first time was that it was a close fight, but I thought Josh Warrington probably edged it just based on work. I thought Galahad wasn't really doing enough. I watched it back this morning. I watched the first 8 rounds anyway. The impression I got that Galahad, still thought it was close, but I thought Galahad was better. Definitely like more skillful, making him miss. But
I think that Warrington probably got the better of like the last 4 or 5 rounds, maybe. So
maybe.
I think it was a very close fight, wasn't it? There was loads of rounds where you could have easily picked either of them for that round.
To be honest, pretty much every round, like the first 8 rounds, could have gone either. There was no round where I thought this is a definitive round for whoever. I thought like Galahad was like, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Joe Calzaghe, Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah.
With Galahad being not exactly, but in terms of Bernard Hopkins, I thought Calzaghe won that fight. I thought his work rate was just sort of overwhelming. Like Warrington didn't have it to that level, but at the same time he was like throwing a lot more punches, busier, and Galahad was like making him miss and hitting him with better punches. Bit too much wrestling going on. It wasn't particularly entertaining, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the most attractive fight, was it?
He did a very good job of like quieting the Leeds crowd, though. So obviously, like that's probably as like intimidating a city to go to like, as any. That's like serious.
That the atmosphere was ridiculous when Warrington came in.
Yeah.
And they're singing Marching On Together and all that.
Yeah, and then he just really like kind of killed it off, didn't he?
Yeah.
He sort of coming on the front foot. Say a lot of grappling, definitely landing, but like he missed. Like Warrington must have missed most of the punches he threw. But
and in the first few rounds, he was making him miss absolutely loads, wasn't he? And he was expending quite a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But I still think that, I know this isn't really how it goes, but he's the belt holder. He's fighting at home. It's his card. And I'm not sure if Kid Galahad did quite enough to get the win. If he'd have done a little bit more, then he would have got it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, even Dominic Ingle admitted that, to be honest. So, like, it basically could have gone either way. Whoever got the decision. It was a split decision, wasn't it? Which I think was like, I wasn't surprised when that was read out. So whoever got it, fair enough. But like, obviously nowadays, every time there's a close fight, you've got loads of people saying it's a robbery. And
yeah, I mean, the reality is that 3 people have to make their decision each round by round, and that's how it comes out. And another day, it could definitely be Galahad's win, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But I do think that I find it hard to believe that these judges watch it completely oblivious or not paying any attention to who the champion is and those kind of things. Like that does affect how they see the fight.
And also,
they're humans.
Yeah, and also every time Warrington like basically like throws a punch, like you got only people there, everyone going mental.
There's absolutely loads of them. They're going mad, weren't they?
Yeah, so it's
even when he missed the shot, they were going crazy. So
I think like really bearing in mind that. I say, looking at it today, only the first 8 rounds, but then what I saw the whole fight yesterday as well. If you were just at the end of it, forget the rounds, just saying, right, who do you think won? I would just say draw is the fairest decision. Obviously, it doesn't work like that, does it? They're like all these rounds are very close. You could potentially give all of them to one person, even though it's a close fight. You just see it
when that judge in the 3rd round decided that Warrington had won or Galahad won, he had no idea what he was going to think later in the 8th round or 9th round. So. Yeah. You've got to think that wouldn't be. I think quite a lot of people wouldn't mind seeing a rematch. I don't think Warrington's going to want to fight him again because he's obviously a very awkward fighter for him, isn't he? But people would want to see that fight again.
I think he deserves a rematch based on the how close it was, but it sounds like entertainment value.
Well, maybe just for Warrington, maybe going in with a completely different attitude. And maybe it could be more conclusive, like a win for him. Or Galahad, Galahad does even better this time.
Yeah, personally, I'd say that the rematch favours Galahad because he's clearly, like for me, like a much better fighter. I mean, he's more skillful. Obviously, part of being a good fighter is being physically fit and active and throwing a lot of punches, isn't it? Yeah. And that's what Warrington does. I mean, that's why he was able to sort of overwhelm Carl Frampton in the last fight. So I think he can basically do that. I don't really see him doing much else. I think Kid Galahad made him miss. He could make him pay a bit more, but then it's sort of easier said than done, isn't it, when someone's sort of throwing that many punches at you and roughing you up.
Yeah, I personally don't think that Warrington will want to go anywhere near that rematch. So I don't think we'll see that fight. It's just it's not a good fight for Warrington at all. No, it's probably not even really that great a fight for Kid Galahad.
No, exactly. I think it's a bad style matchup for both of them.
Yeah.
Because Kid Galahad, like, is someone who's quite a classy boxer. He doesn't really need someone who's just on him, just like constantly. That's not good for him. Yeah. And Warrington doesn't need someone who's like grabbing him, like slipping, moving around, counting. Do you know what I mean? So it's the bad style matchup.
Yeah, Warrington's a little bit like the Sean Porter, isn't he?
Similar.
Of his division. And no one really wants to fight him. No one's going to look good fighting against Sean Porter. I don't think anyone's going to look good fighting against Warrington.
No. Yeah, that's a good comparison. He's that just kind of in your face, steaming in.
Yeah.
So now,
effective, obviously.
Josh Warrington is going to potentially go. He wants to unify, so that will take him over to America.
He says he wants to go to America.
Yeah. Out of I'll tell you the 3 other champions. You tell me how you think you get on with them. Like Gary, you've seen Gary Russell Jr.
Yeah.
How do you reckon you go with him?
I don't think he's got a chance in hell. Gary Russell Jr. is on a whole nother level.
I think so. The problem with Gary Russell Jr., he sort of fights like once a decade, and that's his sort of like weakness. But he's in terms of like skill level, I see that him being too much for Warrington.
Yeah,
Warrington could possibly just try and over, but
no, but he's got that dog in him as well, hasn't he? So I don't think Warrington really.
No, I'd pick Gary Russell all day long.
Yeah.
For me, he's the best at that weight since Lomachenko moved up. So I don't think he can beat Gary Russell.
No, he doesn't need that smoke.
No. What about Leo Santa Cruz? I like him in that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a real just
If I was Warrington,
fucking
I'd have that.
tear up in a sort of pub car park at 3 a.m. style
Yeah,
fight.
that's exactly the kind of fight Warrington wants.
Yeah, both of them
It's
just
ideal.
all action.
Yeah.
200 fucking punches a second thrown.
I like Warrington in that fight, but I could see Santa Cruz winning it as well. That's a great fight.
Yeah, but I just think for Santa Cruz, really, like he's don't get me wrong, he's quite skillful, but his main asset is just his work rate, his fitness. I think Warrington can match him on that, and I think he's like physically like bigger, stronger.
He can, but Santa Cruz is a very experienced fighter, so let's see. It's not as easy as it seems for someone like Warrington, a hometown fighter.
Sure,
Got all his Leeds fans there. Okay, he's going to take absolutely loads of fans with him to America, but it's not the same when you're fighting in Las Vegas or New York or whatever.
Well, yeah, because you basically like Lewis, so he's got a big like Mexican fan base.
Yeah.
So basically, like they've got the same kind of style, like basically quite a cauldron sort of atmosphere.
So for Warrington, that'd be big pressure having to go and fight for the first time in America.
Yeah, true. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's like a sort of walk in the park for him, but stylistically, I like that fight. What about have you seen much Oscar Valdez?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, I love Val. I love Valdez's style. I think he looked like recently he hasn't looked as good as he has done in the past. I don't know if he's been in a load of wars. He's a hard puncher, takes a lot of punishment. I don't know. That would be an interesting one. I'd give the edge, to be honest, to Valdez, but
that could be
definitely be
a classic war, couldn't it? To be fair, I can see that one being the kind of fight we all like to watch, even though you might not admit it.
Yeah,
you want to see a few wars like that.
Oh no, definitely.
That could be a good one.
Yeah. Well, Warrington, I mean, he surprised us, doesn't he? I didn't think he was going to beat Selby. Didn't think he was going to beat Frampton. No. I saw the Kid Galahad as a 50-50, and I basically think it was a draw.
Yeah.
So, Kid Galahad, I mean, I would say the world is his oyster in terms of, but he doesn't really have that much money, but who's really going to want to fight him?
No.
I mean, he fought Warrington.
Seems very awkward, doesn't he?
Yeah, he fought Warrington because he was a mandatory. Yeah. I don't really see that many people queuing up to fight him, but I do like what I see from him. I do think he's got quite a lot of potential.
If I was him,
he's got a bit of money behind him.
If I was him, I would move to America because his style of fighting, I think the Americans would appreciate it. And he could build himself up over 2 years in America and maybe get those title shots because like the Americans are behind him now. They're like watching him.
Yeah.
If I was him, I'd do that because I don't know if he's got too many people pushing him in England, have they? So
yeah, no, he's basically like Carl Frampton's basically on the verge of retiring. He's not going to fight him. Scott Quigg is based in America anyway. Yeah. He's already fought Josh Warrington. Lee Selby's moved up in. Well, I mean, who really is there for him to fight?
Yeah, I mean, if he goes to America, I think people are going to like watching him, aren't
they? Yeah. All right. Well, have you got anything else you want to add, or should we leave it there?
Very nice chatting with you. On Chatterboxing.
Yeah.
By the way, I noticed you've opened a Twitter account. What's the address?
Yeah, it's at Chatterboxing YT capital letters. So yeah, I just started that today. So if you're on Twitter, follow me
and follow Eltel.
Follow Eltel. So yeah,
he's on there. Eltel Boxing.
Yeah.
At Eltel Boxing.
Yeah.
And at Chatterboxing YT.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right, let's leave it there because I'm dying for a piss. Thank you very much for watching.